Hi everybody, welcome to Sampler Sunday. I'm so excited to have a chance to come to you again today and share a sampler. I loved reading all your comments last week. We had several new subscribers, so thank you. Thank you to those who join in each week. Thank you to the new subscribers, and I hope to see you back here again today. I have a new sampler that I want to share with you. It's not a brand new one to me. It's one I've had for a few months, but I saw someone's post on Instagram this last week and just loved a finish that they had, and that gave me an idea for this sampler. So I'm going to share it with you and share the finish idea, and hopefully I will enable some of you as well. First of all, let me just show you the sampler and then we'll talk about it. And once again, let me put it up against a piece of paper. That seems to make it where the light doesn't shine through so quite so bad. It's not a great big sampler, but it's just very sweet. It's a very busy sampler. It has lots of writing in it. It's got a sweet little border all the way around. It has the uppercase alphabet, numerals. It's got a couple of little motifs, a crown, which kind of signals it's probably from the UK. Looks like a little dog, another little, just a little motif of some sort. And then a nice little dividing band of some berries, and then the name, Esther Dickinson, aged 11 years. And she did this sampler in 1841. So that would make her birth date 1830, when she was born. I'll read the little verse to you. And if you've been following along the last few weeks on Sampler Sunday, you'll recognize this verse from another sampler that I have. And so let me share it with you though. It says, I sigh not for beauty, nor languish for wealth, but grant me kind providence, virtue, and health, when then richer than kings and more happy than they, my days shall pass sweetly and swiftly away. Esther Dickinson. And I just think that's such a sweet, sweet verse. And so as I was looking through Instagram the other day, I came across a finish that a lady had done, and I've seen a couple different ones since then. And it was a finish where she had stitched a piece that fit inside this little calendar cubby. And then you've got like the different months, you've got the dates. There's also some little, instead if you don't want to do the months, you can say days until. So like if you've got a countdown to a wedding, to a trip, or any other special event, you can use it that way as well. And I thought, that is adorable. I love the way that they had used this little calendar cubby and finished it. So I'll show you what they had done. Get my paper here so I'm not losing everything. They had taken, it's a monthly series from the Heart, Needleart by Wendy. And they're little Quaker pieces. This one is February. And each month will have the name of the month somewhere on the piece, and then different little Quaker motifs that kind of symbolize that month, either because of the colors, like this one for February is done in pretty pinks and kind of a little burgundy or mulberry looking color, and greens. The one for January was done in pretty blues and whites. So they kind of followed the theme for whatever was going on that month. So this is just From the Heart Needleart by Wendy, and it's a monthly series of Quaker pieces, but each of those will fit perfectly in this bottom section. And so I like that idea, and I went ahead and I ordered the calendar cubby. I was enabled. And after I got to look at that, I don't know about you guys, I love the fact that you could change it out monthly, but the older I get, the more I'm like, I just don't have time to change it out every month. I think I want something a little easier, that's something I could stitch to go in there, so the finish would be the same, but I'm not going to have to switch it out each month. So I was talking to my mother about that and walking around in the living room, and I happened to notice I had pulled some samplers and laid over on a table. And this little sampler was laying there, and I thought, you know what? That looks like something that would fit in that calendar cubby. And so then when I read the verse again where it says, and more happy than they, my days shall pass sweetly and swiftly away, I thought, oh my goodness, this is it. This will go perfect in that calendar cubby. I can stitch it, put it in there, and never have to change it out or remove it. And what a sweet verse to match a calendar. You know, thinking about our days, I hope all of our days pass sweetly. Not that I want them to pass swiftly, but I'll take the sweetly part. I want them to pass sweetly away. So I measured the cubby size, measured little Esther Dickinson sampler, and if I stitch it on 40 count, it will fit perfectly in that space. So that's what I'm going to do with mine, and so I'll show it to you once I get it completed. I'm real excited. This is one of, I'm kidding up things that I want to take on my road trip this next, well, we leave a week from yesterday, so next Saturday. My mom and I are going to take about 3 days to drive from Arkansas to Phoenix for the Addicts Bristol weekend, but we're going to go early. My son and his wife came down yesterday. They live in Virginia, and they drove over and got in. I don't know if it was late last night or early this morning. It was about 2 o'clock this morning, I guess. And so we've enjoyed the day with them. We got up, had breakfast. We've spent time with them today, and it's been wonderful. And so we're going to have a few days before we have to leave and head out to spend with them. And then Haley's going to fly out with her sister and meet my mom and I in Phoenix. We're going to drive over to Sedona, kind of look at that area and all the pretty things that it has to offer, stay for Bristol weekend, and then they'll fly home. And my mom and I will make our trek back in the car. So we like to do road trips. And so we're going to enjoy the drive as we go along. You'll have to excuse the dog barking. That's my grand dog. And he is excited to be here with our dogs. They all get along and play, and sometimes it gets a little rambunctious, but that's what the barking is. So I'm so sorry. Just have to please excuse it. When we get back, I'll have some more time here with my oldest son's going to stay a little longer than his wife will have to go back before he does. So anyway, all that to tell you, I'm working now on kitting up and taking the projects I want to stitch on our road trip, because, you know, I don't know, but when I get ready to pack for a trip, the first thing I pack is my stitching. I have to have it packed because I want a choice. I don't want to take too many projects, but I don't want to just take one. I want a choice of what I might be in the mood to stitch. And I think this sweet little Esther Dickinson sampler is going to go with me to Arizona this next week. I've picked out the fabric. I want to show you the fabric and the linen, or the linen that I picked out, and the floss. And this, I have to cut a piece off of it, but I love this linen, and I know it's hard on these videos for it to do it justice, but this is by Be Stitch Me, and it's called Not Another Sampler. And I think the name is hilarious, because I know my husband probably looks at me and says, "You're working on another sampler." Yep, I am. So I thought the title of this linen was a hoot. I just love that, Not Another Sampler. So that's the linen. And then I'll show you, because this is not in a frame, and when I purchased it wasn't in a frame, it's just hemmed. I love to look at the back, because that's going to give me a true picture of the colors, that the way they would look not faded. Although I will have to say, I think the front of this, the colors really held up well. And for those of you that watched the video last week, what's one thing you notice? This has a touch of red. So this is bound to be a good piece, because there is a little bit of red in this sampler. So using the front and the back of this sampler, I'm trying to get these all put together, make it a little easier to see. I've got my linen and my floss colors. So I'm excited to put some stitches of little Esther Dickinson in. So hopefully I get back from the attic, I can show you some of what I have finished. I want to share a little bit because you know I have to do a little research and a little bit of history background on who I'm stitching and what the sampler might be like. I had a feeling this was English. I purchased it from someone off of eBay where it came from, England. And the crown was a little hint as well. I did find an Esther Dickinson who was born in 1830. And so when someone, a stitcher, puts how old they were when the sampler was constructed and the date the sampler was finished, that is such a help in locating who that stitcher might be. And so I think I found Esther. And like I've said many times before, it's not a guarantee, but I have a pretty good feeling about it. There wasn't a lot of information on Esther. The only things I found, her parents were named John and Hannah. She was born in 1830. It shows her christening being in Stockton-on-Tees. And it's STOCKTON-ON-TEES. I've never heard of that, but apparently that's a place, and it's in Durham, England. She then went on to marry George. And in the 1851 census, it shows her working in Yorkshire as a house servant. So her stitching probably came in handy. If she worked as a house servant later on, she used the skills that she learned as a young child stitching, I'm sure. There were some little quirks that I noticed in this sampler that I want to point out that I think is just kind of fun. Let me put it up against a piece of paper. I think that just kind of helps. The first little quirk that I noticed was that on the verse here, if you notice, it says, I sigh not. This entire verse is done mainly in this blue color. And I looks like it's been squeezed in right there between sigh and the border. And my guess is she forgot to put in her I. She just started stitching, and then she realized, oh my goodness, I left the letter out. And so she just squeezed it in there. She didn't do any frogging. She just decided, you know what, I think I can squeeze the I in that spot. And that kind of tickled me because some of us would probably think, oh my heavens, I'm gonna have to frog that, fix it, decide how it's gonna fit. She didn't worry about it. She just added that I, squeezed it in that little space. It's not stitched in the same color. She used, it looks like, the same color as the dividing bands to stitch the I. Then another little quirk that I noticed was down here at the bottom of that little verse where it says, and all my days shall pass sweetly and swiftly away. If you'll notice, it starts out the D in and. The stem of the D is in the blue that she's used, but then the little hump that makes the D is in this charcoal color, as well as swiftly away. That's stitched in a charcoal color. Now, if it had just been swiftly away, stitched differently, I might think, well, maybe she used a different color because she wanted to emphasize swiftly away. But by a portion of the D being in charcoal and the rest of it being in blue, I really think what happened, she used a lot of blue because the alphabet, the majority of this verse is all stitched in that pretty blue color. And she just simply ran out. And so she didn't have a local L&S to run down to and get another skein. She had to use what was available, I'm sure. And so she probably chose this charcoal. I think what she probably did was think, well, you know what? That's the closest to that color I have. Maybe it won't show up quite as much. And it does blend in pretty nice, but it makes me smile when I look at the fact that I think that's what happened. She just ran out, tried to get as close a color as she could, and just continued on. So that's a little quirk that I thought was really interesting. Another part that I thought was a little different, and I have no clue why. If you have a guess, put it down below in a comment. She's got the whole alphabet up here at the top. She's got numerals through 8. And then she goes on down. She gives her date, age, date, how, what year the model was finished. And then here she has XZ, a lowercase x and z. And I really don't know. She just had a little space left, I guess, and thought, well, it's the end of the sampler. Let me put the last 2 letters in the alphabet, maybe. I don't know. There could be a number of reasons why she did that. But I thought that was interesting. It made me very curious. I'd love to know what her thoughts were and why did she choose that to go in that space. The other thing that I noticed about this sampler was that I believe she stitched the border first. I think that's the first part of the sampler that she did. And this is the reason why I think that. If you look very carefully, the border all looks like it's meeting up. She did a great job stitching that border. However, if you look at the other parts of this sampler, she's had to squeeze them in, or it's ran into the border. It's like maybe she didn't space it correctly. And I think that's just because she did the border first and she tried to make all the inside pieces fit. And I don't know that for a fact, but I always like to think, what did they think when they were stitching this? What made them choose the colors that they chose? What made them choose the verse? Was there something special about this verse that she liked? And so the same thing with what part would she have stitched first? I used to always start in the middle of a sampler. And then I started getting a little bit braver. And I took a 3-inch gauge and would measure 3 inches in and start at the top. And that I started liking a little bit better than the center. But I know everybody has their own way of stitching. So what kind of a stitcher are you? Do you start from the top? You come in 3 inches and down 3 inches and start? Or do you find the middle, the center of your fabric, and start there? Either way, it's still going to turn out just fine. So I'm not sure how Esther would have done. I think she just got started on her border. She did a beautiful job on it, and then she made everything else fit. So that's my thought on Esther. I will share down below the calendar or calendar cubby that I purchased. I got from a company called Paisleys and Polka Dots. And I have their website information, and I'll put it down below the video if you're interested in doing that. And like I said, you can do it either way. The little From the Heart Needleart, like I showed you the February, they have each month. That's precious and it fits in there. I'm going to do this little sampler by Esther to put in mine. And I'm sure there are other samplers or other needlework pieces that would fit. You just find something that you enjoy and make your calendar cubby your own. So I'll put that information down below for both the monthly Quaker series and the calendar cubby. This week I drew for our winner. Remember, it was the red threads where we talked about all of the red threads. And that winner is Stephanie Racine. And Stephanie, if I mispronounced your last name, I am so sorry. But if you will email me, and you'll find the email listed below, give me your mailing address, I'll get that sent out to you. Then this week, because I'm packing, getting ready to leave next Saturday for my trip to the attic, and like I said, I pack my stitching stuff first. That's the first stuff to pack. I thought it would be fun to see what you guys like to pack in your stitching bags and take with you as you travel. And next Sunday, I'll show you a sampler that I'm going to be working on, and I'll also show you my little traveling tote that I have. I have it stuffed full of goodies, and show you what I use when I travel and stitch. But I was in Hobby Lobby, and I thought this was just precious. It's just a little clear bag. It's got little bees on it. They had this little bee threader, little bee measuring tape, and then a 3-inch gauge. I thought, oh, that'd be fun, because we're going to kind of talk about what part of a sampler do you start on. Do you start at the top, or do you start in the middle? So a winner this week will get this little kit of items to take with you when you travel. And to enter to win that, just comment below, and I'll draw from the names of everybody that comments and announce the winner next Sunday. I will be on the road, but so you're not going to see this backdrop behind me. It'll be some hotel room that we stop at along the way, and but I will still come to you next Sunday. And like I said, I have a sampler that I'm taking to work on, and I'll share that with you. I'll also share what I take when I travel and stitch, and hopefully that'll be kind of fun to see what you take that might be different, or what maybe I'll give you some ideas on things that you can travel with as you stitch. But anyway, I hope all of you have a wonderful week. If you have not subscribed, please go down below, subscribe, hit the bell, and it will ring and let you know when I've uploaded a new video. And I look forward to sharing some of my stitching with you again next Sunday. Until then, get some time to stitch, relax, enjoy your week, and I'll talk to you very soon. Bye.